Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nonprofit Fundamentals. My name's Adam, joined alongside with April. And today we have a guest, Kiran Gaudioso. She is the CEO of United Way of Northern New Jersey. Kiran, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, Adam. Hi, April. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Karen.
So, Kiran, maybe just to kick it off, why don't you go over a little more about yourself, your background, your experience?
Sure. Thank you for that. Adam, I'm really fortunate in that I've been working in the nonprofit and a purpose-driven sector really my whole career. I grew up in New Jersey, studied public policy and political science as an undergrad at Syracuse, came back to New Jersey, went to grad school, and a master's in policy from Rutgers, and then spent a couple of years working in state government at the time in the Department of Human Services. I was part of the staff team that helped establish AmeriCorps and the New Jersey Commission on National Service here in New Jersey, which was really special and really fortuitous because I had done a lot of service and community service throughout my undergrad and grad school career. And then from there, left state government and worked for a number of different nonprofits throughout New Jersey and New York City, primarily focused on education-oriented nonprofits, really helping young students of color from disenfranchised communities, help getting them through to, through school to college and ultimately into career and financial stability, financial prosperity. I helped co-found an organization in New Jersey called New Jersey After Three with Mark Valley, who's also a nonprofit kind of legend in our state, the CEO of Norwestcap. And we together built an organization that leveraged state dollars, along with private dollars to serve over 15,000 families in New Jersey. Worked in New York City for something called Sponsors for Educational Opportunity, where we focused on academic remediation for young people, helping them get to and through high school and career. So I really have been very fortunate. And then the opportunity to come to United Way in 2013 was really just a kind of a bringing together an alignment of all the work that I had done because of our United Way's focus on ALICE. And for folks that may not know, ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. For me, I had been working and serving ALICE families my whole career. I grew up in an ALICE household. My parents, I'm Indian on my dad's side. He immigrated here from India, and my mom they very much struggled very early on and throughout my childhood. And so the opportunity to really help build our United Way and really build a strategy around how to support ALICE households here in New Jersey with research and analytics and tools. And then, by extension, take all of our lessons here in New Jersey and then help lead what's now a national movement called United for Alice with United Ways and other stakeholders in 37 other states. So my coming to United Way was really very much a kind of kismet moment in my career because it really brought together skills and interest and really my heart of why I do the work that I do.
You've had a busy career.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been very, very fortunate. I've had great partners, really good mentors. And I think, one of the best things about the nonprofit sector is that we're able to really innovate and really be disruptors and be responsive in ways that, often government and other sectors can't. And I've been, fortunate enough to be at the center of that in a few different organizations.
Yeah, you want to
I
be
gotta
that
say,
voice
I
of
mean,
change, right?
I do. I do. I kind of have like a little bit of an addiction to kind of that startup mode as well. I very much am a social entrepreneur. I really get excited about ideas that are a little out of the box and that really leverage resources in new and different ways. So I have a history of joining startup efforts, even though they may not look like a traditional startup, they typically are.
I gotta say, what you've done with Alice has been amazing. I mean, you made it a term that people recognize, which is not an easy feat. So definitely
Yeah.
kudos to you and your team.
Yeah, my predecessor, John Franklin, really had a vision for what Alice could be. And then, we've been able to really take that to the next level and really build this national movement and a system to really highlight and elevate issues for Alice families, to dispel all the myths about poverty and the assumptions about poverty in our country. Because if we don't really understand who is struggling, and we don't know who those families are, there's really no way we can make it better. So that's really our whole kind of purpose and framework is once we know who Alice is, we understand who Alice is in the economy and in the workforce, then we can work together cross sector to help make life better for Alice and then ultimately better for everyone.
That's great. Um, so I'm assuming there's no normal day to day as a CEO, but roughly what would be your typical day to day?
Yeah, that's a great question. And prepping this morning, I was thinking about that. It really varies. I would say there isn't a typical day to day. I do a lot of external facing work. I'm out a lot meeting with donors and partners and funders and corporations and families. So I'm out a lot, speaking, listening, learning, really doing a lot of relationship building and stewardship. So a lot of my time is out in the field or out in the community, government, all different aspects. So I spend, a good chunk of my time there. I also, really try to carve out time, like maybe twice a month for writing and reflection and really thinking about the work we're doing here in New Jersey, what we're doing nationally. I really am, try to work on being a thought leader. I think a lot of nonprofit CEOs are thought leaders, but I take it really seriously, and I'm always looking to connect dots and listen to different speakers and podcasts. And so I spend time, writing and reflecting. My team will see it blocked on my calendar on Fridays, twice a month, a 2 hour block. It's not always 2 hours, but I try to block that. And that's something that is really important, for me as a leader, for myself, and then also how I can support others, our team, etc. But then also, nonprofit life is very hands-on. So it's, volunteering at one of our programs, Gifts of the Season, or we just wrapped up our school supply distribution program. We put out school supplies for 6,000 families in the last 3 weeks. So it's very hands-on. Folding t-shirts, putting together mailing packets in the fall when we do a big distribution of our annual report. So it's very hands-on and it just really depends on the day.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that block every 2 weeks on a Friday. I think it comes down to being intentional instead of always being
Yes.
reactive, right? So it gives you that time, that block
Yes.
of time to focus. I like that.
Yeah, and so much is coming at us, April, right? Like you're meeting people, you're listening to things, you're catching articles, and you oftentimes don't have a minute to really think about it or connect it back. So when I take the time, as you said, with intention, it usually is very beneficial.
Yeah, I like that.
Same. Um, so what skills do you think help you succeed the most in being a CEO?
I really think it's listening way more than uh, speaking. I always think I love the analogy or the kind of framework. You have two ears and one mouth.
Yep.
So there's a reason why there's two and not, and only one mouth. So I think listening really is very, very important. But even kind of in addition to that, every time I'm going into a meeting, an event, a reception, something internal, external, a team staff meeting, whatever it is, I really very much take a step back and say, how am I showing up in this meeting? What is expected of me? Am I leading? Am I listening? Am I contributing around two pieces and then learning around two pieces of the agenda? Like, I'm very thoughtful about what role I'm playing in that meeting so that I don't often, step out or I don't take over, as a CEO. There are times where it's easy to feel like you need to run everything and
Yeah.
you need to be on point for every meeting, every call, and you really don't. And learning that and learning to step back, have your colleagues, your team members, they're on point. So if you take a step back, I put myself on mute intentionally so that others can get in there and contribute and lead. And then oftentimes I'll, speak at the end. And that has been a learned skill, but it's really very important. And then with donors and partners, the best way to build relationship and have it be relevant and substantive is to listen. And so by asking questions and learning about a company, a partner, an organization, then I'm able to say, okay, here's how we can partner. Based on what you said, here's my value proposition for you around Alice and United Way, rather than just coming right in and saying, here's what we do, take it all. I try to be very specific and really intentional there.
I like that. That's really, you don't hear that too often. You're very thoughtful going into different situations, meetings, and what's your role instead of I'm the CEO, I'm gonna be in charge. I like that.
Yeah, it's a learned skill. It's a
Oh
learned
yeah,
skill.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine that being easy at all,
Yeah.
but
But in a way, it's a relief in a lot of
yeah,
ways as well, right? I mean, it was so crazy during COVID, and you guys know, I mean, you were with us on so many calls, and when we got our Mackenzie Scott gift and started raising government money, and I mean, you
yeah,
guys were with it. It was nuts, and so in an important, constructive way, but it was very intense. And so learning that you don't have to lead in every moment is also kind of some self-preservation, right? And
yeah.
you're sharing that with your colleagues. So
I
anyway,
guess that's also a good way to avoid burnout, right? That you're not always leading. So that's good because burnout's a major issue right now. So
it is. It is. We're definitely experiencing it in our sector. A lot of folks are retiring, transitioning, leaving, going to different things. There's definitely a gap of leadership and talent in our sector right now.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you find what do you find the most rewarding part is about being a CEO of a nonprofit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it's all about the people. It's about the people, the families that we serve and support. It's about the volunteers and my board and all of our direct service volunteers that are involved in our work and my board of trustees, all of our committee volunteers. It's really about the spectrum of volunteers. And then it's about our staff and our team and the various interactions, the growth, the seeing others really have their own personal experience be so rewarding and fulfilling. And knowing that, my leadership and United Way played a small role in that is incredibly fulfilling. I say that our superpower is our people. It's our data and our people. And without our people really operating and serving and functioning and growing and ideating, our work is not anywhere near as meaningful.
I like that. Um, so when you first came on the role as CEO, what did you find most challenging or what was most surprising to you that was a challenge?
Mm. Um, I think for us, it was really, uh, I became CEO in March 1 of 2020.
Okay, so
And
yeah, it's a unique situation.
yes, yes. So, 2 weeks later, we're fully remote.
Yeah.
And so, there were some unique circumstances, but I think the challenges are still the challenges today, right? It's making sure that you balance kind of operations and systems along with opportunity and outreach and creativity. We talk a lot about at our United Way that we really constantly focus on an opportunity mindset. And we're, through our whole transformation the last 5 or so years, we've really been leaning in and encouraging staff and our volunteers and our board to think about everything as an opportunity. A new partner, a new funder, a new data, a new tool, a meeting, whatever it is, where is the opportunity now and into the future? And so I think helping to engender and really kind of penetrate that mindset throughout our culture so that it really is at the core of our business model. I think that's been our greatest opportunity, but also it's not always easy to make that shift from a talent staff perspective.
Mhm.
I get that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess we're getting towards the end here. So for closing thoughts, um, for a new CEO or even someone who one day wants to become a CEO of a nonprofit, what advice would you have for them?
I think really build your network, continue to steward and cultivate and support your own personal network. I think the most powerful thing that helps sustain you as a leader and a CEO in this kind of work is your colleague and your peer support. I'm really fortunate to have kind of a core group of CEOs and senior leaders that I lean on, that I can turn to for advice, that I can share a confidential issue with. And so I think for folks that are heading in this direction, I would say, everyone says networking is the most important thing. And so I don't mean to be trite, but it truly is. And I think, you don't need to have a network of 150 people and however many LinkedIn connects you have or, all of that. But if you have 4 or 5 kind of like-minded folks that think similarly or are on the same kind of path and that you trust, that to continue to meet for lunch and have a Zoom call and have those check-ins and listen to each other, that will serve you very much in the long term.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right.
especially are they mostly in the CEO role or do they have different titles?
It really depends, April. I have a few that are colleague CEOs, but then I have folks that have been CEOs that are not. It really depends on the individual and the circumstance and really the relationship. It comes down to trust. I mean,
Yeah.
trust is everything.
Yeah. We spoke with another CEO too, and they said that they had a coach, which I think is,
Yes.
really
Same
important, right?
idea.
That
Yeah,
once you reach that level of being a CEO, having people to collaborate with or bounce ideas off of, like you said, that sounding board. But again, all different levels of experience or just having a coach.
Absolutely. I've had an executive coach on and off throughout my career, and it's highly beneficial. I've done group coaching, one-on-one coaching. I could not agree more. I recommend that all the time. We offer coaching to our team members, depending on, what's happening with them and their leadership development, professional development. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of coaching.
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. That's our video for today. So thank you, everyone. Take care.
Yes, thank you, Karen. It was great hearing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate both of you.